Alright, greetings. It is GleeCon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Stay a while and listen as we continue with just 2 years before the opening of the Dark Portal. We established the Broken, what they were, where they came from, and we established Zangarmarsh on the last one. So let's continue forward. This one's called the Scouring of Draenor. My guess is this is the Orcs' attempt to just snuff out any last remaining Draenei, and they're not going to be too successful because they're already down to a minimum that we know they need in order to make it to Azeroth. As the Orcs were wiping out the Draenei, Warchief Blackhand dispatched scouts to keep him apprised of Draenor's other civilizations. He planned to conquer them one day, but the destruction of the Draenei was paramount. Once Shattrath had fallen, Blackhand turned his full attention to the rest of the world's inhabitants. Chieftain Kilrog led the Bleeding Hollow on a campaign into Farallon, a lush island that served as the last bastion of the Primals. Its isolated location also made it one of the few places on Draenor that were unsullied by fell magic. The forests there were dense, but Kilrog and his followers were well adapted to fighting in such terrain because they came from the Tanaan jungle. Reaching the island proved difficult. The Orcs were not seafarers, and they relied on ogre shipwrights to build vessels capable of crossing the ocean. Oh yeah, and if you think about it, in the Warcraft 2, it's troll destroyers and ogre juggernauts. So there aren't really orca ships, at least then. Once in Farallon, the Orc warlocks leached life from the primals and used the stolen power to set the forests alight. As the wilds burned, Kilrog and his army slaughtered every Battanian Venusaur they could find. Oh, because there's still a lot of those left there. Meanwhile, the Warsong and Twilight's Hammer clans toppled the ogre bastion of Jaimo. Chieftains Grommash and Cho'Gall both took part in the siege and both relished the opportunity to slay fellow ogres. So now we're taking over Frostfire. And yeah, so this is what they're scouring. They're not scouring for all the rest of the Draenei. They're like, yeah, we'll come back to them. They're scouring every other thing on this place. For Cho'Gall, the Siege of Jaimo was particularly gratifying. It was an opportunity to enact vengeance upon those who had exiled him from the city. He sought out and killed the stronghold's leader, Imperator Margok. Both were two-headed ogres. Both were gifted sorcerers, yet only Cho'Gall had learned the secrets of fell magic and the void. Armed with these powers, he bound Margok to his throne and burned the rival ogre mage alive. Elsewhere, Blackhand tasked the Frostwolf, Thunderlord, and Whiteclaw clans with wiping out the world's Gron, Ogron, and Magnaron, as well as many ogres. And now the ogres, they're still a part of it, but they succeed because once you get to Burning Crusade, the Gron and Ogron and Magnaron are gone. They succeeded in that. Apart from the Jaimo, most ogres had already joined the Horde. However, there were a few holdouts. Blackhand had no interest in winning their loyalty. He had given them a chance to join him. Now he wanted the brutes dead. The Frostwolves and the Whiteclaws saw no honor in hunting down the Gron, Ogron, Magnaron, and ogres. They held most of their warriors back. Yet Chieftain Fenris and his Thunderlords did not shy away from the task. They reveled in the slaughter of their ancient enemies. One of the few Gron to escape the Horde's onslaught was known as Gruul. He lorded over a small number of ogres and Gron in Gorgrond. Gruul far surpassed the rest of his kind in brute strength and cunning. From his remote lair in the mountains, he fended off multiple Thunderlord assaults. Casualties grew so great that Fenris abandoned the attacks. So, is Gorgrond... We know that Gruul and Gruul's lair and all that stuff, that still exists. That's part of the Bladespire. So that little stronghold full of orcs and some Gron. Now we have kind of the explanation of why it exists. But that's kind of part of Bladespire. So is what we're calling the Bladespire Mountains, is that really... I'm trying to think. I think it's a combination. Maybe that's part of Gorgrond as well. So anyway, that's that kind of region. We at least have why that is where it is. So we have a little bit explained up there. This is called Rexxar and the Mach Nathal. Blackhand also considered annihilating the Mach Nathal, but he stayed his hand. One of the half-breeds, Rexxar, had joined the Horde and convinced the warchief to spare his people. Rexxar was the son of the Mach Nathal leader Leorox. The young half-breed did not agree with his father's isolationist philosophies. Rexxar longed for glory in battle. He also believed that the Horde could help the Mok'Nathal find new sources of water and food. Though Rexxar would devote himself to the Horde, he would later learn that its purpose was not noble. Okay, so we don't really... The Mok'Nathal, which, remember, the Mok'Nathal are the ogre-orc hybrids. Where are they? Like now? That's what I'm curious about. Are they going to get fully wiped out as well? Because as of right now, I expected maybe they're going to say, yeah, we wiped them out too, they're gone. But no, we're saying for now they still exist. Okay, so a little bit more development. We have a little bit of explanation of some things, some more questions raised, but not really a ton. It just makes sense now why all these things we talked about are gone. All that exists in Draenor are, for the most part, fell corrupted creatures and fell corrupted orcs. But there are still some things that we need to ask questions on. Okay, and we'll ask those questions in future episodes of Lore of Warcraft. This one's in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one.